because they didn't crack under pressure, whereas you saw kind of Goals and Crown shaking down below. They're going through water, they go down to zone damage at the same time, and it's just very symbiotic, but it does seem like Goals and Crown obviously doing very well as well.
N'hésitez pas à liker
Dude, I
cette
can't even
vidéo
imagine, right?
et à me follow.
The moment you're like, look, they're up top, what can we do? And then,
Et voilà.
oh man, there's nothing we can do. Yeah, I know. So crazy. Let's take a look at the standings and see how things are going. First place, second place, going head to head in that last game right there. But take a look, even after that, even after the victory royale, Goals and Clown are still up in the lead. But again, the margins are still pretty fine, right? You've got Diox not that far behind. Benji Fishy Savage jumping up now, thanks to the victory royale. But look right below, Pink and Anas tied up for points. The difference is they've made up via eliminations. I mean, boys, and then Tayson Thomas HD, Boop, there's still so much going on.
Yeah, there's so much potential. The top 5 is just split by 12 points in total. And I like that Reese mentioned some of the inexperienced teams. You know, Diox and Waffler, we don't see them too often. Diox in trios had a very good running with his Spanish trio, but you know, with the type of results that we had today, it's been hard for them to be consistent, but they've done super well. Let's go to the second page here.
One of the things I want to say is Diox is like the most consistent controller EU player so far. Last season, 10th when it came to Season 8, and then 7th when it came to Grand Royale. Now popping off here as well. We're looking over to the second page, like we said, Vortex and Janice starting to drop down a little bit now. You know, the game's not going as so well for them. And this could look like a first page. Like, read the names that you have on here. Vortex, Janice, Andlex, X-Squeeze, Cammy, Teak. We've got Pablo and Swag, who popped off during the qualifiers. Vadil, Reason, Hen, Queasy, like a lot. And obviously Mustache and Malbuka, a lot of the teams that we would have predicted to be in the top 10. Currently on day number 1 are kind of starting to drop down towards 11th to 20th. But like we just saw from that victory roll from Benji and Savage, that's a 59-point game for them. So that's actually almost, well, that's more than 50% of the points they've had. So for any of the teams that you're seeing there down in the 11th till 20th, it's like they're absolutely still in the running. But the longer these tournaments go on into tomorrow, it can be a little bit worse, less chance of them catching up.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the format, right? And then you shouldn't give up. You know, we saw some tweets coming out of Chapix, you know, it's over. You know, he meant to over from that South Sleepy, now all the way towards Logjam, contesting Kyoichi and Stormy, right? But you still have so many games left. This is only game number 5 that we're about to go into. There's so much potential. You can still win an FNCS, even if you do get eliminated early on here, as we see. You know, you should never give up. Everyone has a chance, and, you know, that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, this was their off-spawn. They switched to Logjam at this point, obviously, and didn't work out for them. We have seen now Kiriachi and Stormy, right, move up to 5th because of that. They've capitalized on a bunch of the elims off spawn, tons of Storm Surge, tons of points.
Yeah, and remember, it's okay for the players to get a little frustrated, right? We have that bird's eye view. We can see everything that's happening, but for them, they can only see so much at a time, right? But that's it for now. We got more games, more action. Shy Wager 11, over to you.
Alors ça commence les gars.
Boys, I'll be real. I had my list of favorites. I might as well chuck it away, man. I'm seeing teams, you know, who have no experience in FNCS, right? Clown, never played in an FNCS final. Sitting up in first going into game 5. That's huge, right? For his confidence as well. But look, I'll be real. Some of the teams we expected to do really well, sitting on the latter pages of the leaderboard. That's not what I was expecting, Shy. I'll be real.
I think the stage has kind of changed to duos, right? And all these big egos are fighting each other in the same spots. You have Deox, you have Clown who are rolling in, playing their own game, their own version of Fortnite, away from the rest. And that's why maybe they're at the lead and now everyone else has to catch up.
Yeah, big up Diox as well, right? Repping for all the boys. Look, I'll be real, in terms of controller plays, you never expect to see them this high up unless you're on another region, 9 East or another one, you know. We don't talk about them regions, but you never really see it. Nevertheless, we'll see if he can hold on to his high position going into game 5. Let's go.
Ça commence les gars. Allez. Finale game 5. Allez les gars, allez.
All right, game 5. 2 more chances today to solidify your spots on the board, and then day 2 is when you start to push towards higher heights, towards that win, towards the prize money. This will all matter though. It might not seem like that to some teams. You have to make sure your mental's locked in, and right now Savage and Benji, they're switching up their strats and tilted as well. Yeah, that last game went great, but they really want to make sure they're making everyone around them on their toes at all times.
Will this be Benji's first chance to win FNCS? Can he finally get the victory royale across the 2 days? Will it be, Shayo? I want to hear from you.
You see, every time we start to ask that question, that's when I have to say no. Like, I wish no one asked it, because every time we do, It's relevant. I mean, across podcasts, across interviews, everything. As soon as the Benji hype starts to come in, I feel like I don't know what the universe does. They make it hard for us to really want the people that we want to win get that dub. But Vino and Joe, I feel like this might have been the FNCS for them, right? In terms of style, the way they got to this position, the way I feel like they were innovating, how you really protect and play endgame. It's looked good so far. I just don't think they've been there in terms of today in any of those end games.
Yeah, it's weird because I think they obviously dipped and decided to come sleepy after landing Covert the whole season. And I think many people thought it would be a bad decision. Like, of course, Chapix and Seti haven't been amazing at sleepy, but you would have still expected them to dominate. And it just hasn't quite worked out that way for Chapix and Seti. And Vino and Joe have done really well landing here, but it just hasn't really materialized into the pop-off games we want from them. They're still sitting nice on the leaderboards, but they got to be careful, right? Of course, Joe's gone down, and so Vino will be left alone. But yeah, I still want to see a big pop-off from them. 6th ain't too bad, but I'm sure under the circumstances, they themselves will feel like they should be doing a lot better as well.
Yeah, and that's literally all I wanted to touch on is the fact that they're still 6th with like the troubles we see them having. So when it comes to like that 12-game format, maybe that's why they're not on pop-off mode right now. They just want to put themselves in a very good spot in day number 1. Stay consistent, maybe even make the same mistakes, and on day 2, start to go for those all-ins. It's very, very, I think, more comfortable on your brain overall to push forward and take more risks on day 2 than to try to catch up to the rest of the lobby. You've seen historically any team that's very far behind on day 2, as soon as they start to, have a little bit of issues, that's where things go bad. And Chapix and Seti right now go down to Vino with the bait. That's what you love to see if you're a fan of this side.
Chapix, he kept building higher and higher, right? He wanted to get the angle so that he could see Vino rebooting. At a certain point, when you build that high, if you get shot down, there's nowhere to go. And so, like you said, Vino realizing that Chapix was about to get the angle and he just shot him out, and Chapix will fall and has no support. I actually do think Hen from behind as well came in with a couple shots of support as well, so it wasn't just Vino dealing with that. He had the help of Hen and Queasy inadvertently in the back, but Chapix and Seti, man, it's really rough to see them like this. They're such good players, but it just hasn't been working out today.
They're like a pinball that wants to go in the gutter of the machine, but you have Vino and Joe on one side as a bumper, and then Kiriachi and Stormray on the other. No matter where they're going, they're just getting flipped over and over again. There's nothing for these guys to do.
Yeah, and again, right, obviously they went Logjam last game, they came back to Sleepy this game. Will they go back to Logjam next game? Will they just keep on coming to Sleepy and getting eliminated off spawn? Like, I don't even know.
Pinball duel, man, is 10 circle at all. Vortexia Castry also switching things up entirely, it feels like. Correct me if I'm wrong, but diving in a Cobra Cavern game 5, they're looking for the Bane.
And look, we said that it was going to start to happen. Will these guys be the ones to punish Tayson and Thomas and stop what's been a dominating run here at Covert, where they've just been able to land, get everything, loot up, have all the pads in the live, all the rotation, all the movement, all the loot.
En fait, genre les gars, c'est des abonnés qui sont avec moi.
I think Tayson, they're exactly where they want to be just today overall, right? Maybe the situation looks a little bit more dire, but I think Tayson's heard the footsteps up above, and now they're going to full defense mode. They just want a respectable day 1. I feel like this duo is a day 2 duo entirely. They just want to be on the map inside the top 10. Luckily now they're closer to even top 5. Just have a good overall 6 games, and then day 2, that's where really the big things get started. That's where they really have to start playing defense.
Yeah, and they're looking good even here, right? In terms of what they've been able to do. Plenty of ammo to boot. And so if a fight does break out, I would expect these guys to be on top.
There's one thing I'm noticing overall as well for like this 2-day format, right? You asked me right when we caught from the desk, Clown, Deox, how are these guys here? What are all these big teams doing? It might be like all the big teams and a majority of EU is just playing their game plan right now on day 1, and as a result, Clown, Deox, Wildfire, they just get to play their games. I think on day 2, when people start to get desperate, pushing more boxes for Surge, doing crazy things inside the end game, starting to take up some of the blank spots that these guys are living in now. I think day 2 is going to be so different for Clown, for Deox, for some of these new names coming in. They might not be experienced FNCS overall. I think they barely have any experience to a 2-day format in the finals.
Yeah, and speaking of a team that will be wanting to make some changes, O'Reilly and Aqua sitting in 21st. They've been landing at the Bugle, going up against Stompy and Ju. We've not really seen too many fights break out there, which is a change, right?
Yeah.
If you didn't watch some of the qualifiers in the semis, O'Reilly and Aqua constantly fighting at the Bugle against so many different teams, but this time not having to. Benji and Savage, they've left tilted, they've gone a bit north.
Ah, yeah, Benji.
They ran into Shmeki.
I think for Noah Aqua, day 2 team, you know, 70 points is what I'm looking for, day 1 maybe. And they'll start to pop off once they really figure out the patterns to their POI and how these end games are looking, right? It's Mr. Hyde himself. I think he's just trying to feel out these games, get that Aqua VOD review in to see exactly, you know, where the gaps are in the gameplay. And day 2 will look really good.
Yeah, I think the big thing with that team is just the nature of how they play means that, again, they're one of those teams where you probably say they're good for 1 win at some point, right? Like, they're good to win a game. It's the reason why, even though I wasn't so high on them going into the semis, just because of that format, I knew, look, give these guys enough games, they're just going to win one, right? Regardless of whether you think they're the worst trio in the world, or worst duo, sorry, or best duo, they're going to eventually win a game.
For Sash Malibuca, one of those duos that, you know, you're not going to be locked into, yo, these guys are good for 1 game. They're one of those ones that are consistent overall and staying inside that top 5, that top 10.
I think the big thing with them, right, especially, you know, you look back at their history in previous seasons and previous modes, there was always the problem of, look, they're contested, but they're still doing quite decently. Imagine if these guys weren't contested, right, how good they would do. And of course, it's a, you know, new map, new mode, but this is our chance to see what they can do out of a decent spot uncontested. And they impressed for the most part earlier on in the season, but still in the finals, something left to be seen.
I mean, they still are slightly contested today. The first fights that we watched, you know, for the first 2 games at least, were Sash Malibuca, you know, getting sandwiched left and right by Gabex. But overall, they did kind of circumvent that completely. I feel like they're used to just fully being contested now season after season. At least they don't have to deal with Benji Savage overall, right? Or Savage in particular, coming down and just making sure that it's just fully tough for him season after season.
Don't want to go back to those days. It's good to see those guys more friendly with each other now as well on social media, etc. You know, the off-spawn beef, it is just off-spawn beef, you know. Keep it in game, keep it in the lobby.
So you ever thought you'd miss the Steamy Stacks off-spawn beef, or we'd ever be moving past it, you know? I never thought. Who could imagine?
Honestly, I low-key miss it, bro. Like, you know, it was fun. You know, it's the good old days. You never know it's the good old days until they're gone, you know?
Yeah. Oh, it's facts.
Allô.
I'm just so curious about Deox and Malphar right now. It just literally, I see them and I want to smile every time. They just look like, they're happy. They're doing crazy things. Shooting at cars left and right. Making sure it's hot for anyone who's in, you know, any of these wheels moving around right now.
It's a certain point that you want to actually do some damage to the person driving that vehicle. Not able to, but look, sitting in second, they've done a great job. 3rd place team, Stormy Right and Kiriachi over towards Logjam. They're looking all right. Some decent shields. The materials are all right. They've committed a bit to get to the position they're in now, but that's fine. It's all about continuing the pace they've been on. Another team where they probably would have felt at the start of the day, hey, why aren't people talking about us in contention for doing well and for winning? You know, we have experience in FNCS. Kiriachi will be saying, look, I've won in FNCS. You guys should put some respect to my name. And sitting in 3rd, you know, in game 5 is all good, but they're gonna have to hold on and push even further in the next couple.
I'm always like confused as to how they end up winning games completely too, right? It seems like they have such a, I don't even know, mysterious type of game style here actually Stormy Right. They just end up doing the right things, but they're never foreshadowing they're gonna do them. It seems like they're in a bad spot. I blink, suddenly it's like the best spot in the game. one duo I always will have trouble in terms of understanding completely, but they're so much fun to watch play together. And just also, I think the biggest thing about them do on the top position right now, Stormray, Kiriachi, is the fact they do everything together, whether that's even making the mistake and going down. You saw last game down on Surge, they were immediately milliseconds away from each other at bullying a wall, trying to get in immediately. Always just all inning together and making sure every angle is taken from two POVs at the same time.
I feel like one of the big things that what makes them so successful at Shio is just the fact that they're one of those teams where they're just hungrier than everyone else, right? They want it more, right? In these endgame scenarios where there's chaos all around, there's solos, you know, sort of trying to dance their way around the lobby, see if they can hide out. These guys just sniff them out and deal with them appropriately. And they do that so well on a consistent basis. In the bottom left, they're doing Reason. Don't necessarily do it on a consistent basis, but when they do it well. I can promise you that, right? They have started to fall in the standings a bit, but they are literally always one game away from being in the top 5. Just always one game away.
Do you want to know the Vidil Reason seesaw? This is what it is. The higher they are in standings, right? On one side, they're higher in standings, the lower they are in Surge. Like literally Surge problems 24/7. As they drop on the standings, their Surge becomes a lot better. They're chilling, 300 above. So I feel like they have these little pockets where they're always at the back. They only really operate well on the comeback aspect of the tournament over and over again. Now, does that mean the later games end up playing well? I think absolutely, as long as they're all connected to the game. You know, some seasons that might not happen. But in this one right now, in this game, 300 above Surge are looking good overall. We'll do it with some other teams to see how they're doing. Stompy, Ju, right now also moving in. 118 below, they really have to just collapse on this wall, but it's inside the storm still. They're really looking to push and force this fight. Meanwhile, Thomasich and Tayson, they get interrupted low on Surge as well. Have to find a little bit of reprieve inside the logjam, but who knows what's going on the other sides of the walls inside the factory. And people are also looking to cook up and build a little bit of Surge for themselves. Tayson will start to move in. They have so much splashes to work with as well, and Caspery are right above them again.
How many teams are in lockdown here, Shio? Look how many teams are just in this general vicinity. This is insane.
It's like watching one of those survival games where you have to stay out of the cold and go inside. Everyone's forced into all these boxes. It's a complete creative island, it looks like right now. And Thomas is trapped inside on the left side. He has to go back towards Tayson. It's looking good for now, but Surge is striking left and right. I hear SMGs and shotguns in every single box. It is Thomas HD that finds a miraculous shot, but he takes damage himself. Benji is also here, and he's below. The entire top side of the leaderboard is inside Logjam and Lumberyard, and it looks like a bunch of them are ready to get chopped.
Yeah, Tayson, he's lost Thomas, and so he has to do this all alone now, but it is so difficult. Savage is almost very close to losing Benji as well, and if he's not careful, he'll get taken out himself.
Je vais quitter, on va faire un peu de fight, vous voyez. T'as capté, faut ouvrir la porte à Kelsey, Iron. Faut ouvrir la porte à Kelsey.
Je sais pas c'est quoi son nom. Midas le charreau les gars. Hein. Midas le charreau là. Voilà, allez, prends-toi une petite tarte Midas, ça va te faire du bien. Il l'a pas loupé.
Allez les gars, nous sommes rentrés dans la map, nous sommes 10. Voilà. Ok, j'ai pris le pire truc de toute la vie. Bon les gars, je crois que je me fais shiton, donc voilà. C'était Kylian. Cheers.